We do start with the wheeling and dealing in Lansing and why lawmakers yet again couldn't get a roads deal. Let's bring in our MiWeek contributors right now. Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson of the Detroit Free Press. Guys, you know, I thought something was actually going to happen this week, and then after 2 days, nothing. Nolan, what did we learn this time around?
Well, I mean, it almost happened, and there's plenty of blame to spread around for why it didn't happen. But that, for one thing, they should have stayed. They were close enough that they should have stayed. They should still be in session now until they got this done. Walking away was just crazy. Now they've got to start from scratch again. But as I said, there's plenty of blame to go around. House Republicans, who had been the holdup, went into the session and moved $600 million away from their original position of no new revenue. They agreed to $600 million in tax hikes, which was a remarkable movement for them. The bills passed, the bills went to conference committee, and then the governor walked off the dock. I mean, Governor Rick Snyder, I think, has a lot of responsibility for this deal not happening. He wouldn't go with the he joined Democrats in opposing the $600 million in reprioritizing revenue. That's only $200 million more than they've already done. So they weren't that far off. But the worst part is he joined them in demanding other things that have nothing to do with the roads. He wanted a fix to the Medicaid tax. He joined Democrats in saying we got to kill the prevailing wage petition, and all of a sudden this became just like Prop 1, a Christmas tree that couldn't pass.
All right, so there's no focus just directly on roads. I want to talk about that $600 million existing, though. Where would that extra $200 million come from? And that's a bit of a hinge,
and
right?
This is the problem is that. And this is why Democrats are against it. A lot of that would come out of things like revenue sharing for cities, the kinds of things that we have deprioritized over a long period of time, disinvested in. This bill was going to double down on, and I think that was the objection that that Democrats and the governor ultimately had. In a bigger sense, you know. I think the governor's right in principle here. He's probably wrong on the politics in the sense that I don't know how you get anything better out of the House this fall or next year. But in principle, it does make sense to sort of push back against some of these things that we've done that don't make a lot of sense for government being able to function in this state.
But he's the one who's been trying to pull the House towards a revenue solution.
Yeah.
And he got them a long way. $600 million is not insignificant. Had they not started larding this thing up like they did Proposal 1 with a lot of non-relevant issues, had he engaged sooner, he might have got them to $750, or even to $8.
Yeah,
it is not going to be an entirely new revenue solution. Voters turned that down with Prop 1.
Hold on. That's a lie that's been repeated a bunch of times. What voters said no to was a package that was full of a lot of different things.
Bingo.
Hold on. To pull out the revenue piece and say, well, that's what they were saying no to is really dishonest.
You're not listening.
Nobody has said that.
You're not listening. I mean, they did the same thing last night they did with Prop 1, and that is larded up with a whole lot. Voters said no to that.
No.
They said no to the revenue. They said no to all the Christmas tree elements of it.
Voters said no to the package. We don't know why.
And last night, House Democrats and the governor were trying to put the same package on the table. You're never going to get something passed that the voters have already defeated.
Okay, so where does this take us, though? Then they say, well, we're trying to get a deal done sometime this fall. I mean, if you can't get a deal done now and you've had time to sit on it or time to negotiate a little bit over the summertime, you come back and you have these intensive 2 days and you kick it down the road yet again to September. What's going to change, Nolan?
Nothing's going to change. They were as close in this session as they've been.
That's true.
And what they needed to do is stay in Lansing and work it out. But it's going to take more leadership than you're getting from the legislative leaders and for the governor. And the Democrats are going to have to accept that this is about the roads. This is not about getting a campaign issue for next year, and it's not about accomplishing your entire wish list.
Well,
this has got to be a bipartisan effort, and so far it has not been.
It's a bipartisan effort, but you have to say, though, if the Democrats, or at least the Republicans, realize that they have to get some of the Democrats on board here, and so they have to
They need Democratic votes, and the Democrats also now have an ace in the hole in this proposed ballot issue for next year that would just raise corporate income taxes in order to pay for roads. And you know what? If you put that on the ballot next year, it'd pass.
It'll pass.
It'll pass going away, which tells
is why Democrats are not It's why Democrats are not participating, not cooperating. They've got
But what
they
does
think
that
they've got a
tell you?
campaign issue, and that's what they're writing. They don't have any interest in fixing the roads.
But what does that
They've
tell
got
you
an
that-
interest in taking the House
But
next
what does
year.
it tell you that if you put that proposal on the ballot next year, the same voters who turned down Prop 1 likely would pass that by a
What it
larger
tells
margin?
you is people were always willing
wanna
to
fix the
tax
roads.
somebody else.
What do you mean
know?
somebody else?
People are always willing to put the tax on somebody else if they think somebody else is going to pay it. Oh yeah, let business pay it. That's an economic
Business is not somebody else.
suicide.
Business exists here. Business uses the roads more than individuals
this
do.
package,
business got a
business-
giant tax break 5
And-
years
and-
ago that has not produced the
In-
jobs that they said
in
they
the
were
package
going
last
to.
night, it was heavily on commercial users. The diesel tax went up twice
was.
as much as the other tax.
All right,
So
let me ask you
it
this.
wasn't giving businesses a break. in
Let me
that
ask you
deal.
this, Nolan. Where does the leadership come now from? Who does it come from
it should-
to try to get this done?
It should come from the governor, but I don't think he knows how to do this, or it almost feels like he doesn't want to do
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
Stephen?
I would agree that I was a little. I mean, I agree with the position he took. I think, in principle, that was the right space to be in. But politically, I think
It's not practical.
it was probably putting the nail in the final nail in the coffin of getting roads done this year. And I'm not sure politically how that helps him or his party. Frankly, I mean, they're the ones who are going to pay the price next year if this doesn't get done. No one's going to blame Democrats for when you control both houses of the legislature and the governor's
When he
office.
came around and sat with Democrats in that negotiations, I think he lost his caucus. I mean, that was done.